Meet Dr. Elizabeth Pritchard, an expert coach and trainer who is revolutionizing the status quo by empowering women to become authentic leaders of themselves and others at an entirely new level. Her specialty lies in assisting professionals, clinicians, researchers, and entrepreneurs who face challenges such as limited career progression, lack of visibility, and compromised confidence in standing up and taking their seat at the table. Elizabeth's guidance enables them to get promoted, establish stronger collaborations for projects and funding, and influence and grow high-performing teams. With more than 3 decades of experience in coaching and training individuals and teams, Elizabeth has collaborated with prominent organizations such as Agilent, Hudson Institute of Medical Research, and Bionics Institute, as well as individuals from universities, health services, corporates, research, and medical institutes all around the world.
This is a Touchstone Publishers presentation, your trusted source of leadership knowledge.
Good morning, all, and welcome on board Essential Leadership Skills, the podcast. We have a fantastic guest. I've been looking forward to her for a couple of weeks, actually, about a month. I think you're going to enjoy her. And thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Elizabeth. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Glenn. I'm excited to be here from the other side of the world.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we're on opposite sides of the world. It's morning time for you, and it's morning time for me. Everybody knows how I am.
Different days.
Yeah. Whenever I get tired, or the afternoon or evening time, is automatically morning, no matter what it is. So I always say good morning.
Good morning.
I want to get started with a question that is not necessarily the topic I want to get into, but it's important, I think, for our audience. When I ask you, what is it about you or your organization that people don't know that maybe they should know? Or what kind of things are not in the marketing statement, not part of your normal, everyday contact with people that they should know, but they don't know?
Probably one of the things is we've got a little bit in our marketing, but you have to look for it, is that we're positive disruptors, that we do things really in a different way. We do not do traditional leadership coaching and training. There's a whole lot of things and a whole lot of resources out there that have been going for decades, and we have come in the side in a different way. We bring our personalities, we bring our experience, we bring our ability to connect in a different way. And yes, we do authentic leadership. So it's connecting in an authentic way with dynamism, so to speak. We come in a different way and do it differently. We disrupt things because we know that if we keep going down the same track of what we've always done, then, as Henry Ford once said, we always get what we've always got. And so we come in and we help you to disrupt the status quo, to scratch the record, to shift that replay button so that it changes in long-term sustainable.
We want to talk about disrupt, but there's something you said earlier on that has been an issue for me for a little while. This thing called authentic self. What does it mean to be authentic? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Coach us up on it?
Yes, absolutely. So authentic is not that thing where you go and flip the finger and do anarchist type things of, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to do it my way. That is not being authentic. Authenticity and leading from a place of authenticity is about being able to be really self-aware, is to have high level of self-regulation. So self-regulation is being able to dial up and dial down things when you need to. So it's that whole expertise of recognizing what other people are doing and saying and responding and being able to dial things up and down. So you're not changing your persona. You're not being this type of person or being in that box in this committee and in this type of thing with that project and in this type of box for this team that you're leading. So it's not about being totally different skills in each areas. It's about honesty, transparency, vulnerability. Vulnerability is really important. And when we say this, people run for the hills sometimes until we explain it. Because I don't want to be vulnerable. I have to be tough. I have to be on point. I have to let them know who's boss and whatever else that we have around that. But it's not that sort of vulnerability.
Okay. So, there's vulnerability, there's transparency, there's other little parts that go in there. But how do we see, in my mind, it seems like those are things that are natural, but you're training those things. How do you, obviously you're training them so they can be trained, but how are we getting people trained to become more transparent? Vulnerability just means being trusting, I think. How do you train that?
It's trusting, first of all, it starts with trusting self. So authentic leadership is about understanding yourself, because so many people, they're very skilled at what they do, highly intellectual, incredibly accomplished, and alongside that, there's this sort of disruption that happens. There's this challenge of, I'm not quite getting the team to be highly productive. They're not quite getting where I'm wanting to go with our mission, and people, there's a bit of disquiet that's happening. And often that is around trust. And when we dig deeper, so a lot of our work, all of our work is based on the science of positive psychology, sports psychology, performance, and also science of happiness and subjective well-being. So we understand more about ourselves, what makes us tick, what are our limiting beliefs. We have our limiting beliefs. I was running a workshop yesterday, and we were looking at the myths that we're busting around leadership. Things like, I never get the right people in my team, or I always find this really hard when this happens, or I can't do this because we don't have enough resources. All of those types of things are limiting beliefs that we can shift and move through in a different way and learn to trust ourselves in a different way, because then we model it and the ripple effect is huge. Our team trusts us more, the level of team cohesion increases, the level of modeling that people see and experience become bigger, and we just grow and develop authenticity within each of our.
You talked about this idea of learning to trust ourselves. I'm not sure this is what you meant, but when you said that, it started rolling through my mind. To trust yourself is to disrupt yourself sometimes. When you talk about disruption, tell us about that a little bit more. Being able to disrupt as a leader, but still remain authentic.
Yes. So it's positive disruption, okay? We don't just go in there again to stir things up just because we want to be known or to create a whirlwind. I've actually worked for many managers like that myself, and it doesn't end up well. So the positive disruption is our neural pathways are built from when we're children. So we see something and it's like there's this movie happening in front of us, and then we see something we have an emotional reaction to, and we go freeze. So we freeze the frame. And within that, there's all this meaning that we as a 4-year-old, 6-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old, whatever it is, we take that meaning on board and we become, that is reality for us. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we do. We all do it. And within that, we often get these things where it's like, I'm just not quite good enough. And it's like, I can do this and I can get to here, but then we upper limit ourselves and something happens and goes wrong and shifts somewhere else.
Yes.
And so the only way to grow and expand is to be able to disrupt that normal pattern, is to be able to create a little bit of a crack in our psyche. And bear with me here. It's to create a little space in our psyche of repetitive patterns. Because the repetition, that's where we get stuck.
So, in other words, coach me here. It sounds like Rick said, okay, you get this repetition going on and you're being repetitive and you're being comfortable. That's when we have to become a little bit disruptive of ourselves.
Yeah.
That self-management, self-regulation means you have to break those patterns. How do you train that?
Oh, many ways. There's a whole lot of techniques we have. I won't let them get away too many secrets. We have a whole lot of evidence-based strategies that actually shift your neural pathways, that actually disrupt and stop and help you to associate where you're wanting to go with different emotions. Because if we don't feel it, and this is not about being emotional, this is about feeling your emotions.
Right.
That's quite different.
Right.
So when we trust ourselves, we allow ourselves to feel our emotions. And this is about being vulnerable. We choose when we show those or when we talk about them as well. So being authentic doesn't mean you wear your heart on your sleeve and everybody knows everything. And that's not what authentic leadership is. So as we're developing and understanding where we're breaking apart and allowing those things to shift and grow, we are becoming more aware of those patterns and able to break through those. And our neurology is so powerful. We're just tapping into it in relation to leadership. We've been tapping into it in relation to healthcare with neuroplasticity and retraining muscles. Done many studies around functional MRIs where we can use imagery incredibly powerfully and get similar results very similar results as if you're actually moving those muscles and doing this. They're doing this with athletes and musicians and all sorts of other people that are doing this. So our brain is hugely powerful. And when you have the right tools, you can actually disrupt that repeat pattern neural pathway and shift it to a different place. And then it's just a matter of practice.
Okay. Just rehearsal, practice. Okay. Here's something though that kind of hit me when I was reading through and learning a little bit about you. You are involved in working with what I would consider a huge, vast difference. From the senior leadership folks that you work with to the clinicians and researchers and entrepreneurs, do you find that difficult? Or don't they have a different learning pattern, or is it the same?
Everybody learns slightly differently. And when you're tuned into adult learners, you can tune into that person wherever they are. I think the important thing here to think about is that when we're leading authentically, it doesn't matter what our job title is. It doesn't matter about our experience in the fact that we bring ourselves. So what we do is we help you to discover the amazing strengths within yourselves, which some people know about, but they're not very strong and they don't know how to use them on a regular basis intentionally and purposefully and consciously. So we help them to recognize those, to strengthen those, to unleash those, and also train them in the other things that they need around authentic leadership. How to bounce forward, not just back with resilience. Who wants to bounce back to the same stuff every day? I don't.
Yeah.
I want to be able to bounce forward. And so
agree.
teach and train the principles to do that. And so that's we were like, we're training and developing and coaching people to know who they be. Not just stay in your heads, but to connect head and heart and be able to have the most incredible strength of leadership in a different way.
Makes me wonder, you said in a different way, but are we talking about just the ideal of confidence? If I can build my confidence, then I can do more things. Or I've always argued, people will say confidence comes last. You got to get your skills and your techniques and your learning, your authentic behavior down, if you will, your disruptive patterns down, if you will, then confidence comes. Do you train that? How do you get people to embody themselves so they trust the head and the heart?
Various ways on the way through. So we build confidence. Confidence comes first. We teach people how to stack the goodies that they've got, stack their accomplishments, sit in their understanding of who they be, sit in their ability to dial up their confidence. There's certain ways that you can actually have your body posture. There's different ways that you can fling off different endorphins, and that can help with your confidence level. So we're teaching confidence all the way through alongside the strategies and principles as well. And I think it's important to think about, we need to have courageous confidence. So you mentioned being in your comfort zone previously and being out of your comfort zone. So that crack that we develop within our heads, that crack that we open up in the patterns so we can change them and choose to change them going forward, is about building that courageous confidence as well. It's about having courage even though you feel fearful. Because one of the amazing things that people take from many of our programs, and I'll let you into a secret here, is that fear and excitement are the same. Physiologically, we feel fear and excitement the same way in our bodies. Our heart rate increases, we often get sweaty palms, our head and our thinking narrows into just focusing on one thing, our breathing escalates and it's shallower, and we can be experiencing fear or excitement because physiologically we have the same thing happening. The only thing that's different is our thought. It was like, oh my gosh, this is scary, I haven't done this before. Oh my goodness, how is this going to work out? I've never stood in front of 2,000 people before and delivered a keynote address. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And within that moment, we can reframe and shift that to going, oh, this is excitement. My body is feeling the same. And we can trick the body into recognizing this as excitement, because fear is just excitement without breath. We put breath into it. We reframe our words. And the power of that builds our confidence as we go as well.
You know what? That's a tweetable, writable moment. Fear is without breath. That body that is labeled is without breath. I was listening to an interview with Bruce Springsteen about 20 years ago, actually. And the person asked him, well, what does it feel like for you right before you get on stage, right as you're going to go on stage? Everything that he labeled out, everything that he said was nerves or fear. And so the writer said, so you get scared? Oh, no, I'm excited. I'm ready to go knock it out of the... But he was just, he labeled it different. But then now I think about it, during that interview, you can still see him breathing deep. That's, I would assume that's one way you might teach, because you brought it up, you is assuming that's the one way that you teach people how to be confident. Just fake it till you make it, breathe.
Well, it's not faking it, because you're practicing it.
Yeah. No,
you've changed your mindset. So you've changed the words that you use, hugely powerful. So when you change the words that you use, you change your focus. Even if you change your focus 10 degrees, you've still shifted your focus. You're still not on the same track or the same trench that you've been before. So you've shifted your focus, and it's like, hey, I'm excited. And then it was like, what does excitement feel like? And you're retraining your brain to recognize these emotional responses as excitement. So you're retraining, you're practicing. It's not actually faking.
I always have a problem with people saying fake it until you make it and you shouldn't do it. That's not the way it is. I think that's just passé. I think that you tell yourself how you want to be until you are that way. Notice that, and what you just said, it all ties things together. Okay. I'm going to tell myself I'm going to make the right things. If I make a small shift, then I'm going to start feeling that way, which means you disrupted the old way of feeling. And now there's nothing fake about because you don't feel that way anymore. It's just a small little switch maybe. But so I think that process must be very valuable. The reason why I asked so about the senior level leaders and the clinicians, they have a different way of thinking about things. The researcher has a different way of thinking about things than the senior level does. Entrepreneurs, when they run their business, they have a different concern than the senior level people. So I was wondering, do you much of a difference in training there? Or is it still just that, hey, it doesn't matter what your title is?
What happens is people come in thinking that there's a lot of difference, and recognizing what their skill level is at, all of those types of things. But authentic leadership is looking at the psychological mechanics as well as the components of who you are being. What you said is just absolutely what we focus on. It's who do you be in this moment? Who are you taking into this meeting? Who are you taking into this international negotiation? Who are you taking into this incredible project that you are looking at merging your companies or finding some new funders or taking your proposal to the government to get even more funding for a particular project that you're wanting to get them to invest in? So who are you being in that moment? Because there's be, do, and have. We're so good at doing and having. We want to have this, so we do this. We want to have this, so we do this. But we need to think about, and this is the work of Robbins Research, Tony Robbins, and other people as well in this space. It was like, who do we be? Who are we inside? And being able to strip back all the things around title and qualifications and all those types of things, it all comes back to who are you as a person? And everybody is who they are. And we help them to recognize those, to strengthen those, to rebuild them if they want to rebuild, to shift them if they want to shift, and give them the tools and the tips of how to do that on an ongoing basis. So when we actually pull things back and look beneath the learnings, the qualifications, the way people have and do what they do, we're very similar humans. There's 6 basic human needs that we look at. Our psyche works in very similar ways. Yes, there's different nuances. And that's where us as authentic leadership coaches are able to go, oh, this person needs more of that. That person needs less of this person needs a little bit extra over here. This person needs a bit more one-on-one here. This person needs this sort of experience to shake things around. And so that's what we bring, our authentic leadership abilities to lead and guide individuals, even though we're working in groups and teams as well.
I'll tell you, my team members just went absolutely crazy because I've been preaching, who do you be? Be who you're supposed to be first for a long time. So you got to be who you want to be first. The doing and having is easy. You got to be who you want to be first. So I've noticed, though, that when, like you said, that once you be something, you're authentic. The doing and the having flows too. And I think that's important for people to kind of get a hold of. How did you come across that? I know you said Tony Robbins and you didn't know me until last week or a couple weeks ago, but a lot of people have been saying that, but not so many people are. A lot of people, like in goal setting, for example, they have a process. In order to work with people, even if on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, you have to be that level first before you can even begin to want to be the next level. If you're on the third level of belonging, you have to be long before you can go to the next level. How do you get people to understand that? Like we kind of use Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, there's another hierarchy that we use around needs as well. So it's a need for certainty, uncertainty and variety, a need for significance, a need for love and connection, a need for growth, and a need for contribution. So are the sort of different levels of human basic needs that people come from, that we tap into as authentic leaders. And when we recognize those, we can train and develop around those. So going back to your question about how do you train about the B, it's like, yeah, we do very successful goal setting programs as well. It's a 6-week course online. You can do it from anywhere in the world. And we take you through that process, that recipe. We give you the scripts, we give you the things, we give you the templates so that you can go, okay, this is much easier. And there's this huge component about what is your purpose and who do you be? Because when we connect to meaning beyond ourselves, and we know this from the work of Martin Seligman, who's a professor of psychology at Pennsylvania University, Ed Diner, Sonia Leiber-Mirsky, Angela Duckworth, many other positive psychology researchers and trainers around in the world, we know that meaning beyond self, contributing and feeling like we're contributing to something other than just me in my insular place, is so important and drives many people. Yes. And I would believe that many of your listeners or the senior leaders, it's like, you're not just there for the pay packet. You're there because of something altruistic, because of the contribution you can give, either to the people in your organizations or to the populations or the people or the clients or the customers that you are there for. And when we tap into that, I've got goosebumps. When we tap into that, that gives us ideas of who you be. And when we recognize that with more conscious intention, we can grow that, we can explode that, and we can become more authentic in who we are.
This ideal, and I don't teach goal setting anymore. I don't teach anymore. I put it that way. I want you to tell us a little bit about this program you have, 6 weeks. One thing I noticed is that you didn't build your program on your own thoughts. You build your programs on the shoulders of others. I think that's powerful. Tell me about the program. Don't tell me. Tell our listeners about the program, how they can get the program, what they're going to get from the program, and why they should not listen to Glenn, just go do it themselves.
This is one of our small programs that we do on the site. It's not one of our main signature programs. So that sort of explode people's. The goal setting one, we have 2 sessions of training in the groups, and we keep our groups, we don't have them super, super large, so we keep them smaller, so there's more intimacy, there's a little bit of being able to have some personalized coaching along the way in our groups. And then we give you 2 weeks to go and do your homework and put things in place, because you cannot just have knowledge. Knowledge without application is just useless. People come in, sometimes they go, I know that. It was like, are you doing it? No. Then you don't understand it. You don't understand the importance of that information and apply it. So they learn it, they apply it. They learn it, they apply it. And they have 2 weeks to finish up the next part of the tasks. We have a group that they connect with on the way through. We help them through. And then 2 weeks follow up with the final 2 trainings. And people have said, this has changed my life. We've got one person who just keeps coming back and devouring all of our programs now. Particularly, we've got many people who do that. But it was just like, oh my gosh, it was life-changing. Because they thought they were really highly productive and they were managing well, and they were just exploded in what they're achieving. They go home earlier, they have more time and more energy with their family. Their team is going, oh my gosh, what are you on? I want this. Yeah. So they're starting to come through as well. And it's linking with, what is our purpose? What is your purpose? Why are you here? What is that contribution? And getting people to work through it and recognize what their values are, and connect with that purpose in here, in the heart space. not just the head intellect, amazing, incredible people that you are, but it's connecting. We cannot be an authentic leader without having that channel connected.
There's a couple of things I want to ask you about what we just went over. The purpose. You got to have a pretty strong purpose. And it sounds like that you're allowing people to get that experiential learning together so they can build a purpose. How important is it for you to know your purpose? Or in Napoleon Hill's terms, what is your definite chief aim? How important is that?
Yeah. It's really important in different ways. So we use the work of Simon Sinek as well, and James P. Cass was before Simon Sinek around infinite mindset and looking at things from that's the whole side of things as well, about really important to recognize that any challenge or obstacle is an opportunity for growth. So how can we shift our thinking towards that? And how can we think about our why as well? What is the why? And this is quite tricky for people initially who have never thought about it. And so we do it all at different levels. An example that sort of springs to mind is I was somebody who runs a pathology lab. And she was like, oh, there's this job that I need to do, which is an international collaborative job. It's a bit boring, a bit tedious, but it needs to be done. And I'm the person with the expertise, so I need to do it. And I haven't done it, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, so why am I procrastinating? And so we looked at that a little bit, and it was like, okay, so we need to come back to, so why are you doing? And she goes, because when I do this, then the other pathologists around the world will know how to do this and this. And then that links to having a better outcome for these people, which means they have better quality of life. And I'm all about creating better quality of life for this type of population. And it was like, there's your purpose. So doing a mundane job on a spreadsheet links to that purpose. Every time you go in and go, okay, I'm going to spend half an hour here or 20 minutes here or 30 minutes here to finish this 12-hour process. Every time you go into it, you set your intention. It's who do I be? I'd be this person who is helping that family member have a better quality of life. And you go in and you do it because you know who you be and you know your purpose.
I love that. See, I took you off track a little bit, but now I went back to where I really wanted to go. What are you doing right now? I know you said the goal setting is out there and you said it's a side piece, but what are you doing right now for leaders to be better leaders? What type of classes are you offering, reading materials? What are you doing right now that's making a difference?
Two of the things that are making the biggest amount of difference is we have an 8-week program, which is online again. We can deliver anywhere around the world. And you connect with a smallest group of people again, so that you can begin to build community and feel that you trust yourself and trust each other, and you connect with others around the world. And some people have built lifelong friendships from that. So it's called the REAL program, Resilient, Empowered, Authentic Leaders program. 8 weeks, we take you through specific topics each week. Twice a week, you connect with us. And we also do coaching in a small group, in the online group as well. And what you can develop is the ability to set better boundaries, to create the processes around giving yourself permission to have better work-life balance, to be able to recognize what's getting in the way of that little 20%er of taking your team to the next level of productivity, of being able to increase the retention in your organizations, and identifying those types of things of how to build authentic resilience that bounces forward, how to create eustress. So there's 2 types of stress as well, distress and eustress. So eustress is positive stress. None of us would be in our positions. None of us would be out of bed today without some eustress, getting up, getting going. And so recognize those things and going with those. And the second one is one-on-one coaching. We do this with people all around the world, and one-on-one coaching processes that we do. Tap into who you be. Tap into, yes, we give you specific techniques and processes for things, but the core, the crux of our coaching, which is different to many other different coaching programs around the world, is we get you to explore who you be, and you create your answers with powerful techniques around it.
So website address, email address, can you share those? We want They'll be in the notes, but can you share them in case somebody's listening right now? You want to
Yeah,
write it
sure.
down? What's your website address and email address and phone number and all that contact
Absolutely.
information you
Okay.
want to give?
Okay. So the website is waltinstitute.com. So WALT is Women Authentic Leadership Trainings, WALT. And in corporates, we often have even 20 to 50% men in it. So it's not just authentic leadership for women, but that's the name of our company. And my email address is Elizabeth with a Z at waltinstitute.com. And you can find us on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and all of those amazing platforms. And you can contact us through the website. There's a contact form in there with phone numbers in there. Yeah.
Now, do you have a YouTube channel that you work through as well, where you put up videos or just your blog?
We do have a YouTube channel. It's not very up to date. That's one of our next projects in the next 12 months to refresh that and keep that going. When you're on our database, we have our weekly inspirational blog that comes out. We have opportunities to access specific mini trainings. We also have a monthly membership program, our Inner Circle. And within that, you get one live training from Christine and or myself every month. You get a community of international people that you're beginning to grow and connect with. And there's over 90 trainings in there at the moment that you can access at any time on all different topics around leadership, time management, stress management, all types of things, how to use a supercharged language in your work, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I not saw that. So if the learning management system for leaders, they can go to your website and have all these classes lined up or classes, reading materials, get your videos and things up soon. But that's all right there. If I was to say, tell me right now, what's the one article I should go to your website and read? What would you say? And that's a tough question. It's like asking me, tell me who your favorite child is.
I think it's quite a lot of information in there around what is authentic leadership, because until you begin to get your head around it, there's like, I can do this differently. I think that's the eye opener that many people have. So it will be under resources, authentic leadership, and recognizing what the paradigm is. It's based, as we said, it's based on evidence. It's based on the shoulders of others, based on our own learning. Christine's got over 2 decades of working with sports people. She's a past elite athlete, so she's got sports psychology and working with sports people and teams, as well as working in education, health, and corporates. So she brings that as well. And it's once we recognize and understand what does authentic leadership mean, we can begin to put the building blocks in place upon that.
Okay. When you start looking at what authentic leadership really means, it draws me to a question that is oftentimes asked, and I'll ask it of you. What are some of the pain points that people have that kind of say, no, I don't want to be involved with that? Because there's a pain point, or kind of say, okay, if I get this, will it solve this pain? Do you have any thoughts about what that might be?
Some of the pain points are people are actually choosing to stay in their pain. And that may sound crazy, but
That's true.
I know what this is. It's comfortable. It's familiar. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to be that person out there. And so people often choose, either consciously or unconsciously, to stay in their pain and to stay where they are. And then they often lash out. Many people do, because they go, that's just stupid and that doesn't work. And who are you to say that? And blah, blah, blah. And that reaction happens. And around that, people often think they dabble in it a little bit and they go, oh, that's just positive thinking. Positive thinking doesn't work. I've tried it before. It doesn't work. And this is so much more than positive thinking, because positive thinking is only one tiny little aspect of it. To reframe, to shift our neural pathways, to reassociate different emotions and responses with our new behaviors is like layers and layers beyond positive thinking. So positive thinking on its own does not work. It does not stand up when we're faced with adversity or tough decisions to make. It doesn't work. So these are the principles and the depth around that. And so I think a couple of those things, people choose to stay in their pain because it's comfortable. They know it. It's familiar. And the other thing is they dabble a little bit, they try it, they do it once or twice, it doesn't work. But it's like any new skill, we have to practice it and celebrate as well. If you don't celebrate your taste of success along the way, If you don't celebrate the taste of success, and people in these roles that we work with, they're so bad at celebrating. We go, right, let's celebrate that. And they go, whoa, we're not allowed.
The last time you did this, when's the last time somebody patted themselves on the back? Yes.
Yeah, I was like, well, can't do that. So we teach people how to celebrate themselves and be proud of themselves, not with ego, not with arrogance, but absolute pride of, and within that, then they can build these things and they can develop the skills. And then it's just practice. And we become masters. So they practice with mastery.
We talk about this ideal. Most leaders, I think, work to support their people on their staff, work to support them, help them build collaboration and disrupt from their negative thoughts. But you seem like you focus on the leader to get them there first, then it just automatically bleeds over. As they get there, it is not been bragging or anything of that nature. They just there. No, there is definitely thing. How do you support that? How do you foster support in the collaborative environment in yourself and then outside of yourself? I know that's a long-winded question, but in yourself and outside of yourself, how do you support that? How do you suggest you support that?
It's connecting with people who are at a different stage to you. So we know through research that we're the average of the top 5 people we spend the most time with. So I'll let that sink in. We're the average of the top 5 people that we spend the most time with. So if we're spending a lot of time with negative nebbies or the Debbie Downers or the people who always find fault with things, if we're spending a lot of time with people who keep on going, we don't have enough of this and we don't have enough of this and we can't do this and we can't do that, then that's part of our environment that we become. So it's the most important thing to keep yourself going is find those people, and with the power of the internet, with the power of all of the different platforms internationally, it's find those people who are at a different level to you, who you can respect, who you can trust. It's not about finding a guru. It's like that person is, what can I learn from that? Oh my gosh, they've got something that I want. I want that. How can I get that? What can I learn from them? Success leaves clues. What are the clues around, and how can we connect and collaborate to find out more about that? And with that, you're constantly growing and expanding and becoming more and more effective, more and more productive. But not only that, more and more you. That's the most important thing.
Okay. You just wrapped that up, didn't you? A real nice tight. As when you go through these steps, you become more you, more authentic. That's a real nice way to wrap it up, except for I have one more question for you. What questions should I have asked you that I did not ask you? Is there a question that I should have asked you that I did not ask you?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I didn't prepare you for it either.
What was that? What could you ask me? What about why am I doing this?
That's a good question. And maybe I'll put that into it, but why are you doing this?
I'm doing this because for years I was becoming a very clumsy leader. I was learning through trial and error. I was busting myself inside and out. I hit the wall, and for 3 months I had hit major burnout, and I couldn't even contact anyone or talk to anyone or be part of anything. And then it took me nearly 10 years to rebuild myself, my energy, my skills. I had lots of skills, so it wasn't the energy, it was managing myself. How can I be the person who wants to impact people in the world? And my limiting belief through all of that time was that I was not enough. And I recognized and understand, and over the last decade or so, I have totally shifted. It was like, I am enough. It is not my qualifications. Yes, I have hurdles of qualifications. It's not because of that. I am enough for being in the middle of whatever I am in that moment. I am enough. And I could never say that before and believe it. And now I do. And so my mandate, my purpose, my why is to share that with anybody and everybody, that you can feel that empowered and have the tools and the skills to be able to step into your amazing, incredible, authentic power like never before. And I can share that with people, and that's why I do what I do.
That is strength. That's strength right there. What you learn from your failures they weren't failures because you learn from them and you use them to the advantage of others. That's strength.
Yes.
No, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is going to be a great show. I know we're going to get in depth on some discussions that a lot of people don't want to talk about. They want to talk about it, but they don't want to go in depth on it. They don't want to talk about what authentic really means or how to disrupt things so it's not evil and it helps build that authenticity. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. I really do.
Thank you so much, Glenn, for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you for connecting with us here at Touchstone Publishers. Please join our group Essential Leadership Skills and share your leadership knowledge with us all.